Have you ever wondered why some people seem to have the key to wealth, while others, despite working hard, continue to struggle financially? What is going on in the minds of these people? The truth is simple, yet so powerful that it might sound absurd to you. But if you manage to understand it, apply it, and believe in it, you will be amazed. I'm about to share a secret with you that could transform your life in just 7 days. Are you ready to be amazed? I want you to pay very close attention to what I am about to say, because if you fully understand this first lesson, the rest will be easy. The secret to achieving what you desire lies in something that seems simple, but is so powerful that many people fail to notice it. You are what you think. Sounds absurd, doesn't it? I know what you're thinking. How can it be this simple? The truth is that most people spend their entire lives ignoring the power of their own minds. We live in a world where we are constantly bombarded with external information telling us what to do, how to think, what to buy, how to live. But what about your mind? What is it telling you? Have you ever stopped to think about what happens when you feel insecure or afraid? Your mind begins to create thoughts that reinforce those emotions, right? And guess what? The more you think that way, the more you feel that way. Now, imagine the opposite. What if, instead of fear and insecurity, you started thinking about abundance, success, and confidence? What do you think would happen? The universe would begin to conspire in your favor. I've been through tough times, just like anyone else. But when I began to understand that my mind was the key to change, the transformation was instant. I began to realize that opportunities had always been there, but only when I started looking at life with a positive and abundant mindset, did they become visible to me. One of the first lessons I learned was from a friend who had been stuck in a cycle of negativity for a long time. He worked hard, but always felt frustrated because he wasn't achieving the results he expected. I asked him, "What do you think about your work and your success?" He replied, "I'm doing the best I can, but nothing seems to work out." That's when I realized what he was thinking, and more importantly, what he was feeling, was blocking the opportunities from coming to him. I shared with him a simple technique. Every time he felt frustrated, he should stop for a moment and focus on what was going well in his life. I asked him to think about the small victories he had achieved. Every time he felt defeated, he should replace that feeling with something that made him feel good, something that showed him success was within reach. I told him that his mind needed to be trained to look for solutions, not problems. I know you're probably thinking, this can't be true for all areas of life. But let me explain something that few people understand. The way you see the world will determine how the world responds to you. It all starts with thought. It begins with thinking. Have you ever stopped to reflect on that? By the way, when I told you the secret could change your life in just 7 days, I want to mention that this number isn't just a number. We're talking about a short period of time, 1 week. That's around £147 if you were to invest in, say, books or advice for personal growth. This amount, £147, isn't much, but the change that could happen in your life if you invested in your mind is truly priceless. Everything begins from within you. Always remember, your thoughts are the starting point, your feelings direct the energy, and your actions pave the way. When you start acting as if you are successful, wealthy, and confident, life will begin to reflect that back to you. The world will respond to you in the same language you're speaking in your mind. How many times have you been rejected or failed to achieve something simply because, deep down, you didn't believe you could do it? The thought that you're not capable can alone block your chance at success. I have a real example of how this worked for me. In the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey, I was completely broke. I had no money, no resources, nothing. But there was something inside me telling me I could do it differently. I decided that my focus would be the key, and I started seeing myself as a successful person, even though at that time, I was far from it. It doesn't matter where you are right now, if you start changing how you think about yourself and about the world, things around you will begin to change. One of the biggest obstacles people face is self-sabotage. How many times have you caught yourself thinking, I can't do this, I don't deserve this, I'll never succeed? I know that thought can feel natural, but it's a huge lie. If you start looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, I can do this. I deserve wealth. I deserve success, something magical begins to happen. Believe me, it's in the moment you start believing in yourself that the world begins to believe in you too. Now, I want to ask you a question. Have you ever had a brilliant idea, but then abandoned it because you thought it was impossible? This happens because your mind is so conditioned to fear and doubt that it automatically rejects anything new or unfamiliar. But let me share a secret with you. Inside doubt lies a huge opportunity. If you never challenge yourself to step outside your comfort zone, you will never know what you could have achieved. I've seen this happen with so many people who, out of fear of failure, never took the necessary action to change their lives. I want you to know one thing: change begins in your mind. When you start thinking differently, results start showing up. This is not magic, this is science. Neuroscience studies show that the way we think and feel directly affects our physiology and even our ability to act. The more positive your thoughts, the more abundant energy will flow around you. So here's the big key: stop doubting yourself. Start seeing success as something natural, not something far away. Every great journey starts with a simple thought, a small change in the way you view life. Have you thought today about how you can transform your life with the power of your thoughts? For 7 days, I challenge you to look at yourself differently. Every time you look at yourself in the mirror, say, I am capable of achieving anything I want. Success is within my reach. And watch, sincerely, as your life begins to reflect those thoughts. It doesn't matter where you are now. What matters is where you can go. It's all about your ability to believe in the unimaginable. Now, let's talk about one of the biggest limitations most people impose on themselves, and that's our ability to believe in the unimaginable. I know that this sentence might sound a bit bold, but I need you to understand it on the deepest level, because what I'm about to tell you could change everything. There is no limit to what you can achieve, except the one you place in your own mind. By the way, when I said I was broke in the beginning, I had less than £200, which is roughly £130 today. And yet, I started, and here I am today sharing this story with you. Let me give you a very simple, yet incredibly powerful example. How many people throughout history have done the unimaginable and completely changed the course of their lives simply because they believed they could? I could spend hours talking about public figures who turned their lives around because they believed in the impossible, but I'm going to share a story that is much closer to me. When I started studying personal development and applying the law of attraction in my life, I didn't have all the resources. There were no major opportunities in front of me, but I had something that many didn't have: the belief that I could change my reality. I began with a very simple thought: what if I could achieve wealth and success, not through luck, but through my mindset? This belief was the key that opened all the doors. But before I tell you what I did, I want you to stop for a moment and think, what is it that you believe is impossible for you? Do you feel that you don't have what it takes? Do you think success is reserved only for a few chosen people? This scarcity mindset is exactly what stops you from reaching what you truly desire. And the worst part is, most people go through their entire lives believing their fate is already written and their limitations are unchangeable. It seems absurd, doesn't it? But it's the plain truth. What stands between you and what you want to achieve is what you believe is possible or impossible. And if you're thinking that all of this sounds like a beautiful theory but doesn't work that way in practice, let me tell you about a person who had the courage to believe in the impossible. Oprah Winfrey was a woman who was born into extremely difficult circumstances. She faced challenges that many would consider insurmountable. But she didn't just believe, she lived that belief. Oprah believed she could change her life, and by believing it, she began taking actions that led to incredible success. It didn't happen by chance, it happened because she believed in the unimaginable. Let me tell you another story that made me understand even more clearly the power of belief. When I was starting my career and still struggling to find my true calling, there was a time when I felt completely lost. I was in a job that didn't make me happy, and although I desperately wanted to change my life, it felt like I was stuck. Then one day, I made a radical decision. I stopped and asked myself, what if I believed that my life could be much bigger than this? What if I believed that success was within my reach? I started changing the way I viewed the world. I stopped seeing myself as someone who had to fight to survive, and began seeing myself as someone who could achieve whatever I desired. It was at that moment that doors started to open. I began visualizing my life in a completely different way, and I started acting like someone who had already succeeded. I didn't know exactly how success would come, but I knew it would come. Now, here's a challenge for you. I want you to commit to this idea for 7 days. Yes, 7 days living this belief. Every time doubt creeps in, ask yourself, what if I believe that the impossible is possible for me? Regarding financial values, if for example, the original text mentions $100, it would be approximately equivalent to 75 British pounds, and should be written as approximately 75 British pounds. The same applies to any other monetary value. All numbers should be written out in words, including times, chapters, and Bible verses. Remember, everything begins with what you choose to believe. When you believe, the whole world begins to shift in your favor. I want you to allow yourself, even if just for a moment, to imagine a life where all your goals have been achieved. I want you to think of something big, something you've always wanted, but concluded was out of your reach. Now, imagine yourself already living that. Picture yourself being part of that. And do this with complete truth every day. I guarantee you that if you maintain this mindset, your reality will change. You will start acting differently, you will begin to notice new opportunities around you, and before you know it, you won't just be on the path to achieving what once seemed impossible, you'll be closer than ever to achieving it. Remember, the universe responds to your belief and your actions. And when you believe in the unimaginable, it becomes possible. Now, let's talk about something very deep, something that you may have never considered this way before. Money is not just paper. Money is energy. And more importantly, you are the magnet that either attracts or repels this energy. This may sound strange at first, but I want you to understand the depth of this, because once you understand that how you feel about money determines the flow of wealth into your life, you become the true master of that energy. Let me explain what I mean when I say money is energy. Money, just like anything else in the universe, is a manifestation of energy. It circulates, changes hands, flows from one place to another. What you feel, what you think, and most importantly, what you believe about money, directly affects how this energy moves into or out of your life. Have you ever noticed that when you feel fear or anxiety, opportunities seem to slip right through your fingers? When you're stuck in a state of emotional lack, you start attracting more of that lack into your life. The fear of not having enough, the fear of losing what you've already gained, creates a barrier that blocks the flow of money. The opposite is also true. The more you feel abundant and grateful, the more this energy flows to you. The feeling of abundance is, in fact, the key to attracting more wealth into your life. When I started my journey, one of the biggest changes I made was realizing that I needed to change my emotional relationship with money. I had to stop seeing money as an enemy and start seeing it as neutral energy that can be used for good. I started focusing on gratitude, on abundance, and I began to realize that every penny I earned was not a reflection of how much I deserved, but of my ability to keep the energy of abundance flowing. Let me share a personal story. In one of the toughest times of my life, I was completely isolated, not knowing how to get out of that situation. I thought I would never improve. But it was then that I began to understand the power of emotional energy. Instead of worrying about how much I owed, I started focusing on what I already had. I was grateful for my health, for my family, for the small house I lived in. As I started to focus on gratitude, my thoughts shifted. I stopped focusing on limitations and began to see opportunities. I began to see more job opportunities, new ideas started coming to me, and money began flowing into my life. At that time, I needed an amount that was approximately £250,000 written in words as £250,000 . I had no idea how I was going to get it. But when I changed my internal energy and focused on gratitude instead of fear, money started coming from places I never expected. I know that many of you might be thinking, but Bob, what about when I really don't have any money? How can I feel abundant? The key here is understanding that abundance doesn't start with what you have, but with what you feel. Even if you don't have enough today, you can act as though you already have everything you need. I know this sounds contradictory, but when you act as though you already have the abundance you desire, that is what draws more of it to you. This isn't a mind trick or empty self-help jargon, this is science. Psychologists and neuroscientists have shown that when you mentally simulate feelings of gratitude and success, you change your physiology and perception, causing new opportunities to emerge. But I also want to challenge you to look at your emotions about money on a deeper level. How many times have you thought you didn't deserve success or wealth? Or even felt uncomfortable with the idea of thriving, as if that was somehow wrong? When you feel guilt or shame about wealth, you are sending out vibrations that will repel what you most desire. That's why you need to embrace the idea that you are worthy of the abundance the universe has to offer. No matter what happened in the past, you are worthy of success now. And once you start to believe this and feel comfortable with it, the universe begins to respond. Let me give you a clear example of how this works in the real world. Imagine you have a business idea, but you don't believe it can succeed because you think you don't have experience or resources. This is normal, right? Most people would think this way. Now, think with me, what if instead of focusing on the fear of failure, you start acting like someone who has already achieved success? What if you begin to feel worthy of all the success you want to attract? Your energy shifts, and with that shift, new possibilities begin to appear. Here is the key that few people understand. You need to align your thoughts, emotions, and actions with what you desire. It's not enough to just say, "I want to be rich," and then sit back waiting for things to happen. You need to act with the confidence that you already are rich, or at least on the way to being so. The secret is to act as though it is possible and start taking the necessary steps to get to what you want. One of the biggest lessons I've learned in my life is that the law of attraction is not passive, it's active. It requires you to move. And that movement doesn't need to be grand at first. It doesn't matter if your first step seems small or even imperfect. The important thing is that you begin moving in the right direction. An idea you have today, no matter how simple, could be the first step to a huge transformation in your life. Now, you might be asking, "But Bob, what if I don't know where to start?" The answer is simple: start with what you know. Take the first step. Start looking for opportunities around you. You don't need to have all the answers, you just need to start. Action creates confidence, and confidence creates more action, and when you get into that positive cycle, opportunities begin to show up. This leads us to another important point: don't wait for the perfect opportunity. I know many people get stuck, waiting for the ideal conditions to take the first step. Regarding monetary values, if we assume, for example, that a sum of $100 is being mentioned, it would be approximately equivalent to £70 in British currency, and should be written as £70 in words, without numerals or currency symbols. All numbers should be written out in full, including times and Bible references. For example, 3 p.m. should be written as 3 o'clock in the afternoon. 1:9 should be written as chapter 1, verse 9. Remember, real change begins within. When you change yourself, the world around you begins to change as well. Some people think, "I'll only act when I have enough money," or "I'll only start once I have everything I need." But that's an illusion. The perfect moment will never come. You have to take action with what you have now, with what you know, and trust that the universe will open the way for you as you move forward. Remember people like Jim Carrey, who used the law of attraction in a very powerful way. He had no guarantee of success, but he believed in his future as a great actor. In 1995, he wrote a check to himself for an amount equivalent to roughly £77 million, with the intention of receiving that amount for a role as an actor. He held onto that vision and kept taking action, and shortly thereafter, he received exactly what he had written on the check when he was cast for the film Dumb and Dumber star. The key wasn't just writing the check, but in the ongoing action and the faith he maintained while moving towards his goal. The fear of money is one of the strongest barriers people face when trying to achieve financial freedom. And this is not a common fear, no. It's a deeply emotional fear connected to our childhood, our upbringing, and the way society views money. We're often taught that money is dirty, that it corrupts, or that rich people are not good people. But none of that is true. Money, in reality, is just a tool. It's neutral. What matters is how you use it and how you feel about it. Ask yourself, what do you feel when you think about money? Do you feel afraid of not having enough? Do you feel anxious about what might happen if you lose everything? These feelings are not healthy. In fact, they are fueled by the scarcity mindset many of us were raised with. Society teaches us to see money as a scarce resource, so you begin to act as if there isn't enough for everyone. When you live in that state of fear and scarcity, you cannot see the opportunities right in front of you. I'll tell you something I've learned throughout my life: the more you fear money, the more it will slip away from you. This is true, and it's something you need to understand deeply. Fear creates blocks. It makes you shy away from opportunities, avoid taking action, and even act against the abundance you want to attract. Have you noticed how many people who are afraid of money have never really been able to improve their financial situation? They avoid making important decisions, procrastinate, or make decisions that perpetuate their scarcity. But when you change your mindset about money, you start to realize that money is just a reflection of your internal energy. If you're afraid of it, you project that energy of fear outward. That creates a block in your financial life. When you shift your energy to trust and gratitude, money starts to flow to you more naturally. I know it might be hard to believe at first, but the internal reward you get from working through your fears makes all the difference. I want you to ask yourself, what would you do if you weren't afraid of money? How would your life be different if you started to act as if money were a positive energy, not an enemy to be feared? Think about that. Would you act differently? Would you start making decisions with more confidence? I bet you would. Now we come to the most important part: how can we overcome the fear of money and start living in abundance? The first step is awareness. Acknowledge and accept the fear. You are not to blame for it. Remember, it is a product of your past, your limiting beliefs, and external influences. But most importantly, do not let it define your future. You have the power to change this now. When I began to change my mindset about money, opportunities started opening up for me in ways I never imagined. People started reaching out to invest with me, to collaborate. The fear gradually disappeared as I took emotional control over my relationship with wealth. I want you to begin noticing every moment you feel fear, and every time that happens, say to yourself, I no longer need to fear money. I am capable of managing my finances, and I am on the right path to attract abundance. You will see, over time, that the fear will lose its strength, and you will feel more comfortable making financial decisions and living a prosperous life. When you confront the fear of money and overcome these limiting beliefs, you free your energy to act with confidence. And it is at this point that you will see the law of attraction start to work in your favor, attracting everything you need to achieve your goals. Do not be mistaken, the fear of money is not a life sentence. It is merely an obstacle you can overcome. And when you do, you will discover a world of abundance around you, waiting to be lived. The key to the transformation you desire is within you. You have the power to change your reality with the way you think, feel, and relate to money and success. It does not matter where you are now, the control is in your hands. Remember, true change begins when you choose to act differently, when you choose to think in abundance instead of scarcity, when you replace fear with confidence. The path to wealth and financial freedom is not a matter of luck, it is a journey built every day with a positive mindset, action, and courage. Now, a new step is in front of you. A step that brings you 1% closer to being better than you are right now. Do not stop here, for the next video that will appear on the screen will elevate your wisdom even further. I am deeply grateful that you are here, and that you are committed to your growth. We will see each other in the next video, where we will take another step in your evolution. Until then.